this is Shell of Shell's Creations, and today I want to talk with you about 10 tips for using the alpha doodles. Scrappers love alphas, but sometimes it might feel like as you're trying to include an alpha in each of your kits, that you feel like you're repeating the same thing over and over again. And so I sat down and brainstormed about some different ideas for things that you can do to mix up your alphas so you're not repeating the same thing over and over again. The first one of my 10 suggestions is, I didn't even count this one towards the 10, it's kind of the obvious. Use a different font or a different alpha doodle so that they look different, they're a different shape. I went back and looked in my store, and in my store I have, I think, 17 or 18 different alpha doodles. These go beyond a font in that they have outlines, a doodled outline, doodled insides on some of them, dashes, doodles, dots, all sorts of different ways, and they are the things that I use to spice up an alpha and make them different each time. Some of them are long and skinny, chunky. There's an example of one with dashes, dots. Some of them have the dashes or dots down the middle of the letter, some of them don't. It kind of depended on the letter, what I was working on. Some of them look more handwritten, some of them are more chunky. Just a whole assortment there, and so that's probably the first thing that's obvious in changing up your alphas, is to use something different each time as far as the space goes. Whether you use a unicase alpha, this one isn't unicase, but if, for example, whether you use a unicase alpha where the lowercase letters are the same size as the capital letters, or whether you're using something an alpha that's a lot different, more hand-drawn looking on that one, or this one looks more formal. It's still hand-doodled in that there's just a little bit of differences in the tracing where it's not perfectly, it's not just an actual typewriter, it's kind of got some unique things there. And again, they have insides and outsides. Some of my newer ones, people were requesting the masks in them, and so I went ahead and created the masks as well. So if you see one like this, it includes the masks. Otherwise, you can create your own. And the newest one that I did, my Cherish Alpha, it was fat when I finished it, and it was so fat when I finished it that instead of just having the outsides, the insides, I went ahead and did another inside that I called the super inside. You can see it right here on this letter I. The darker one is the outside, the middle gray is the inside, and the almost white is the super inside. And you can use them in any combination. For example, this H right here is the doodle from the outside and the super inside together, and so there's a bigger difference between those two than this one right up here on the E. Or right here I've used all three of them again. There's the outside doodle, the inside dots, and the super inside doodle. And so this one offers even more possibilities for things you can do. But let's look at 10 different suggestions I have for different ways that you can mix things up. Okay, the first one is just to use the doodles and the layered masks as they are. So add your own papers from a kit. In this particular example, I have solid papers in both cases, but you could use any patterned paper from the kit. You can use the doodle and the mask to make it look like it's stickerized. You can skip that and use the dashes to make it look like it's stitched, or a multitude of different things that you can do utilizing the doodles and paper. The second concept or idea that I have is to layer it. Use those different things to make it look like you cut the letter out of a patterned paper and then cut it out of a solid paper and layered the two together, or out of a craft background and a solid paper, something different like that, but make it look like it's layered. You could even use this as look like it's cut out of fabric. We're approaching fall right now. Maybe you cut it out of a corduroy fabric and made it look wintry with regard to how fuzzy and furry and layered it was. Gives just the kind of feel of a wintry warm kit. Okay, the third idea is to add a layer style. This one in particular, I've got the CU transparent epoxy styles on the one on the left with a dotted paper behind it. On the right is a metal style. There are a lot of styles that you could try. You can tweak your own, make up your own thing, or put together something that works for the styles. But styles are a quick and easy way to add variety to those letters. The fourth idea is to use an icon or an emblem that is related to your kit theme. For example, if you had a Tooth Fairy kit, you could put your letters on teeth. That does make your alpha unique to that kit. or that theme. And so sometimes when I'm doing something like that, I'll include two different alphas with the kit. Maybe one is a bonus alpha or something, so that one of them is more generic in case someone wanted to use that kit. And in fact, I encourage them using the kit for the theme and then using it for something else as well. And so it makes it a little more versatile that way. But there's another option for an alpha. Put it on an icon that's in it. The one on the right is a pop bead from my Play and Grow kit. That there's another way that you could use an alpha on an icon from the kit. But as long as we're talking about putting the alphas on things, you can also put them on generic shapes. Tiles, a Scrabble tile is an example of this, or engraved in a little metal tile square. Here's one as a stamp, here's one as a scalloped circle, but putting them on where the shape that you put them on is more generic. It's not related to the kit theme necessarily, but it's just a more scrappy generic theme, but putting all of the letters on the same shape that way. The sixth idea I had is to just use the doodle. On the left, I took the doodle and thickened it up just a little bit and made it look like it's a wire word or a wire letter. On the right, it's made to look like it's just a thin painted wire that's been stitched and woven in that shape. Either case here, there's nothing on the inside. It's just the doodle part that's used. Okay, idea number 7 is to do something crafty with your letters. In each of these cases, I printed out the doodled alpha, and then from the printout I pulled out my art supplies and created something crafty, either painting it, crayon or marker or pencil in the middle and marker on the right. But each of those cases I've utilized the doodled alpha to create something more artsy. Idea number 8 I have is to use the alpha as a mask. So take something and cut out where the letter is. On the left is watercolor, the CU watercolor brushes, and if you had those created so that each of the letters was a different watercolor blob, you can put those together to make a name or something like that. The one on the right is just a flag or banner alpha masks or stamps that people could go in and create their own words on an alpha. Number 9 is to add an icon or element, something from the kit or just something general scrappy, to each of the letters. Sometimes when you do this, you also want to include a version that doesn't have these things on it, or you might want to put them on the uppercase letters but not the lowercase letters or something like that. In the first example here, my button down alpha, everywhere that had a hole in it, like an A or an E or a P or a D or a B, all of those letters, I went ahead and erased the doodled lines where the hole was and kind of got rid of the hole, and then I had an assortment of buttons, 8 or something like that, that I placed in those spots randomly so that it looked like the buttons had been sewn in where they go. The middle one is just some berries, and I think you have the choice in this one. You can include it with putting it on each letter or just letting them put it on where they want. And the third one is an alphabet from a Valentine's kit that I had, and I just put a heart on each of the letters on that one. And so adding an icon or a scrappy element is my 9th suggestion. And suggestion number 10 is to bling it up. Find some bling and make something that's more snazzy. On the left, if you're careful about how you use your brushes, you can make something that looks like you've got glitter around the outside edges. I love the doodled alphas for this because they aren't perfect. They're not just fonts. They have been tweaked and created to be hand drawn, some better than some, more sloppy and some more neat. But either way, on this one in particular, because of that, the way that you would add glue to the outside of a letter looks more natural because it's hand doodled. The middle one is a charm. Again, it's got some glitter in it and a style on that one. And the one on the right is just adding some gems so that it looks like it's got some bling. So the 10th suggestion is adding some bling. Okay, those are my 10 tips for mixing up your alphas using the alpha doodles. Remember, we discuss tips like these in our webinars in our Designer Club. I'll put some information in, or I'll put the link down below. The perks of being part of my Designer Club, in addition to these webinars, you also get all of the new releases I have that month, and you get them on the first of the month before they're released to the general public. If you have any questions, you can reach me at shells.creations1@gmail.com. We'll see you next time.